my name is Jada.
And I'm Evan. And
This is an update from Caffrey News Network.
You ever feel like you're walking on eggshells at work, worried about what people really may think? Or maybe you've seen a coworker get the cold shoulder for something they can't control.
Well, buckle up, buttercups, because today we're diving headfirst into some wacky, wonderful, and sometimes weird world of stigma in the workplace. Get ready for some eye-opening insights that'll make you think twice about those office whispers and sideway glances. Let's get started. Okay guys, my name is Jada and today we're here with
Michaela.
And today we're going to be talking about the stigma in the workplace. First, I'm going to give you the definition of stigma. So stigma is when people judge, reject, or treat someone differently or unfairly just because of a specific trait, illness, or background. I just have a few questions to ask her really quick and we're going to get into it, okay? Okay, so my first question is going to be, what happens to an employee if they feel stigmatized by their colleagues?
I feel like when an employee feels stigmatized by an employee, it causes so much of their mental to go down, even if it already is in that case then. It's important to know like you're working in a safe environment, being that no one wants to work in an environment that's like they feel discriminated in any sort of way, just for whatever that's being, like whether it's their trait, mental health as stated, just etc. You know, it's just horrible environment. It also causes the environment as a whole to go down, because if one person isn't working due to an issue that one colleague did, it can affect the whole team.
Exactly. Okay. And the next question is going to be, how can a company or an organization help to prevent stigma in the workplace?
I feel like just surveys. There's a lot of surveys that go within jobs sometimes. Even like when I was in school as well, they used to do like, hey, rate how we're doing, whether it's with teachers and that. I feel like maybe if you get people to speak up about it as well. Also, just having the work environment feel safe for people to even be able to come up to them if that problem is a thing, for them to be able to address that. I feel like aside from just surveys, just, you know, even pulling people aside and just making sure you have that connection with other people as well.
Exactly. Perfect. Mentally ill or convict is a label being thrown around, and unfortunately for the people labeled as such, there's little to no chance they can even make it to an interview, huh?
That's right on the money. A small percentage make it to an interview. The argument is those with illnesses are said to not be able to handle the mental burden of the job, and that previously incarcerated people can't be trusted in a work setting. Keep in mind something important. Psychoeducation training was provided to hiring managers. Even still, after a survey, Joe was deemed least unacceptable for the job. Acceptability jumped from 69 to 90% to those managers who did receive training.
Upon ending, researchers claim that even though the educational teaching was promising, it didn't seem like it was enough. Maybe if paired with other intervention, there could have been more chance for a variable group.
Maybe so, but what can be said is that even though with educational intervention and direct understanding of this stigma, these people are usually screened out in the initial overview of job applications. Battistini and his colleagues saw that many applicants asked about criminal history. Thinking about that, how many people do you think ever actually made it to an interview?
Not many, I'm assuming.
And that brings me to the Ban the Box movement. This law was incorporated to remove criminal history questions from initial job applications.
Yes, that's a way to make hiring processes easier on someone who is qualified without being stigmatized.
Hi everybody, I'm Evan and I'm here with
Garrett.
So I'm going to start off by reading the definition of stigma. And stigma is when people judge, reject, or treat someone unfairly just because of a specific trait, illness, or background. So that's the definition that we're going to be using. And I just have a couple questions for you, okay? Firstly, how do you think leaders can effectively address and challenge stigmatizing behaviors?
I think especially like in the workplace, if you like team meetings, I'd say like weekly, we kind of address, you know, if anybody's having kind of, you know, mental health, any kind of stigma or problem like that, we can kind of address it. And I think everybody just has to do their kind of part in helping, especially if you have like a, you know, family team kind of, you know, workspace.
So everyone just kind of like works as one unit, you know, when something goes on, it gets addressed and everyone moves on. All right. Okay, so my next question. How might stigma related to mental health issues manifest in a professional setting, do you think?
They manifest. What do you like kind of mean by that?
How do they happen?
I mean, workloads, managers kind of being not nice or considerate about anxiety or anything like that, depression. Coworkers also not doing their part, and that can cause a bigger workload on you, which mental health can spiral. So I'd say that's what I know.
And for my last question, let's see. What are the potential consequences for employees who face stigma due to their background or personal circumstances? So that might be like, perhaps they have something on their record, or they have a background of mental health issues that might be somewhat known within the company they're applying for.
Right. You kind of asked me how they would like combat that, go around
Yes.
it. I mean, if you're working your best towards, obviously any type of mental health, getting past that. Obviously, if you're on any kind of medication too, I think that should definitely be considered. If if you're on the up and up versus just kind of dealing with it. I'd say, I don't know. It's really just like those 2 points.
Well, you made an excellent one. All right, those are my questions for today.
Hello, my name is Dr. Anonymous, and I was brought on here to CNN to go over some more interesting facts about the stigma in the workplace. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to review Brower's 2020 paper. This paper is what we call a position paper. Think of it as a lab report and more of a well-cited letter to society saying, we have a problem. She reviewed decades of existing research and organized the findings into 4 mechanisms. The numbers alone, not great. People with serious mental illness are 7 times more likely to become unemployed. Depression or anxiety, still 3 times more likely, with 29% of people worldwide expected to experience a mental health disorder in their lifetime. We're not talking about a fringe issue here, something greater. So, mechanism 1, employer bias. Managers hold negative assumptions, making them less likely to hire and less likely to support employers with mental health illnesses. The Badastani study found the same thing experimentally. So at this point, the bias is not a theory, it's actually a pattern. 2, the disclosure dilemma. Tell your employer about a mental health condition and you risk discrimination and possibly termination. Don't tell them and you might not get the accommodations you need, which does lead to performance issues, which could in turn cost you your job. It is structurally a trap, I would say. The why try effect. When people are repeatedly told directly and indirectly that they won't be hired, some internalize it and just stop trying. It's not laziness, that's a rational psychological response to sustained rejection. The discrimination manufactures its own justification. And number 4, stigma stops people from seeking help at all. If a diagnosis could cost you your job, many people simply won't get one. Untreated illnesses worsen, unemployment gets harder, stress increases in a person. It's a cycle. I'd say if you were designing a system intended to fail people, this would be a solid blueprint. Brower's conclusion is that we need programs built to actually reduce stigma, not to just study it, which we've been quite good at. So when you put these studies together, the picture is hard to ignore. Qualified people are being passed over for jobs, not because of what they can do, but because the label attached to their name. A little bit of education can help shift attitudes, but attitude shifts alone don't change what's happening in the hiring room, behind the scenes. Real change, both sets of researchers agree, requires strong policy, better employment training, and a broader cultural shift about how we think about mental illness and criminal records too. Because right now, the bar for getting hired is not just can you do the job, it's also do you have the right kind of past. And for a lot of people, that's the bar set before they even walk through the door. When we come back, our report is out in the community asking everyday people what they actually think about hiring someone with a mental illness or criminal background. Their answers might surprise you. Stay with us.
Hello everyone, today we'll be interviewing
Sean.
And today we're going to be interviewing about stigma. The definition of stigma is when people judge, reject, or treat someone with unfairly just because of a specific trait, illness, or background. And today's first question is going to be, how does the presence of stigma affect team collaboration and communication?
All right, good question. I I would say with like stigma being its own type of prejudice in a way, for one, I can absolutely see how it would harm like a building, a company, organization, whatever you would call it, the work productivity. Targeting one person just because of something that may or may not like actually be like part of their criminal background, for example, would like you could absolutely see how that would make a person say like, well, I don't want to work with somebody like a coworker that's targeting me for little to no reason. I don't want this person being my boss if they're targeting me for little to no reason. Like, I don't even want to work here, you know? You're not gonna want to you're not gonna want to talk to somebody who's like constantly attacking you for like something in your background. I can absolutely like stuff like riots or strikes. That's the big one. I think, yeah, that can
Yeah.
definitely impact communication in a business.
On to another question. Another one is, how might stigma related to mental health issues manifest in a professional setting?
I think because work stress is a very real thing, having to deal with like a really poor environment on top of like work stress and then life stress if you're a teenager, school stress on top of that, vice versa, anything that could be going on in somebody's life, it really does take a toll on somebody's mental load, can cause a surplus of anxiety, depression. I really don't like when pimples like break out on my face. It'll do that to you too. But yeah, like anybody being targeted in a way that is just unfair would have a strain on their mental state. So.
And the last question, what are the common types of negative stigma experiences in the workplace?
The first one that I think about really is racism. You see that one like really often. I also see disabilities, like people with disabilities, or even like gender. Like gender roles also can play like a huge part in versions of stigma. Criminal backgrounds, I mean, I already said that. A criminal background can also like dictate like, oh, this person may or may not be like, I don't feel safe being around this person because they took a watermelon from Aldi's. It's like, yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Zach and I'm here interviewing
Emily?
and we're going to start with the definition of stigma is when people judge, reject someone because of a specific trait, illness, or background. I just have a few questions for you. First one, how does negative stigma impact employee morale and productivity?
It could single people out based off of not feeling included or welcomed in the workplace.
Second question for you, what are the common types of negative stigma experienced in workplaces?
Social, economical, racial, any mental illnesses or intellectual disabilities.
And my last question for you, in what ways can organizational policies help mitigate negative stigma?
They could put into place anti-discrimination rules and then subsequent actions based off of whatever said rules are, bringing in more engaging teamwork activities.
Awesome, thank you for your time.
No problem.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Monica. Today I'm going to be your interview reporter, and today I'm here with
Warner, hi.
And today's discussion is going to be about stigma. Stigma is when people judge, reject, or treat someone unfairly because of a specific trait, illness, or background. My question for you is, what are the common types of negative stigma experienced in workplaces?
Okay, so think about it. A few of them are like gender, as well as ageism. For example, I did have a coworker that she was well within like her 50s or whatsoever, and the rest of the coworkers were like under like 30, I would say, and that was actually a little different because you can actually see the little difference in between, you know, her experience and ours, but also we would bring a little bit more energy, and she was a little like a little laid back or something like that. So yeah, and another thing as well is mental health. That it's kind of like the stigma within workplaces as well, and yeah, that's what I think it's different.
Okay. How does negative stigma impact employee morale and productivity?
Okay, I think it creates like, it does not create like a harmonization between the co-workers within the workspace, because stereotypes, different people work, you know, in different offices, they bring different experiences, different types of mental health issues and stereotypes based on their racial background, etc. And in a workspace where that is very much like prominent, I would say it disrupts productivity, where like coworkers are not able to work with each other, and especially in certain I would say industries or environment within the workplace that require team, like the team member relationship, and basically work with each other, that can prohibit that in a way. Like for example, someone with let's just say that had like a background in like substance abuse, okay, and someone is not comfortable with that, and you know, in a negative in a way, if that person is having issues with that, it's gonna overall mess up the whole relationship with the team, because clearly you're struggling with something but refusing to actually, you know, get help, and that actually is going to lead into, you know, the work, to the people in the environment, really, just create disruption.
Well, there you have it, folks. After this informative review on Badastani and Browers, what do you think? Would you give grace to those amongst us stigmatized for mental health and past incarcerations? Or should they not be allowed the freedom to gel with the rest of us in society without being judged? For everyone here at Caffrey News Network, good night, and thank you for watching.